Okay, I hope the screen is visible to you all. Am I audible to you all, by the way? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Start please now. Your screen is visible.
Right. Okay, so Assalamualaikum and good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to interact with you all, the members of Innovative Youth for Change. First of all, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Nisha, and I'm working as a lecturer at Nara University of Engineering and Technology, Jamshedpur. And currently, I am a PhD researcher at Center for Applied Language Studies, University of Jyväskylä, Finland. So, upon the request of Tahira, we arranged a session about studying abroad. And this is one of the very important topics in the present time because most of the youth seems very much determined to excel in their career. They really want to excel in their academic studies and they want to achieve something higher in their professional life too. So considering that need in the present age, I thought that why not to speak with you all on this important topic. So studying abroad, prospects and possibilities. Since I am a teacher, so I would like to, go the session, let the session go like a classroom, rather than just being a monotonous session, having this conversation, all the time from me only. So I would like to engage you as well. Okay, so I have an interesting question before I actually start with my session. The question is, why to study abroad? Just think about it, and you can just put your answer, response in your chat box. I can read what is your motivation, or why studying abroad always fascinates you. What are the other goals that you keep in mind whenever you plan to study abroad? I'm just looking forward to your responses. Okay, for better studies, I think. Right. We are excited to study abroad because we want new environment. Right. Yes, let's listen from other people as well. Well, knowledge and well practice, degree, to charge on and also for developing skills. Yes, for better higher studies, for achieving our goals. That's great.
Sir, I think moving abroad nowadays, it's a big challenge.
Right.
And for our better studies, we all wants to move to abroad.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, I can see many responses. I want this to be abroad because I want to join and learn further more fields in pharmacy. Yes, because we are already known with present era, but want to eagerly know about much more experience and knowledge. Yes, very good. Exactly. So everybody is excited to go abroad because we know that our future lies there. we can have better knowledge, we can have better exposure, we can have better experiences there. So let me show you some of the fascinations that most of the people have whenever they are planning to go for higher studies abroad. So one of the basic reasons to study abroad is higher standards for education. We know that we are living in the globalized age, and we know that the first world countries, especially when we talk about US and UK and European countries, they really have the high standards for education. And considering those high standards, we really want to be part of that. We really want to learn from their experiences. We really want to know how they are, developing knowledge and how that knowledge is contributing to socioeconomic development of the country, and how that university is really contributing to making of the successful people in the world. So yes, the first reason is the high standards for education. And I will show you where does the first world country stand today when it comes to the issue of education, and where do we stand, and why based on that why we are planning for it today. I will give you some facts and figures as well. The second important fascination that we have is international social networking. We know that when we are uh, going abroad for higher studies, we are actually going to increase our social networking. We will definitely have our interaction with so many people in our own field. We might have our own leading experts in our field. They may be professionals, they may be academicians, there may be many colleagues that we will be working with. There may be many friends that we will be making there. So this kind of international social networking is very important in the global age today, because that can help you develop your own profile. Okay, and maybe you can be in touch with many people, so that you should know what is happening in different parts of the world and what is happening here in Pakistan. So when you have better social networking globally, that can really keep you updated about what is happening in the world. And third thing, the third major reason that people always have in their mind for going abroad for higher study, that is international exposure and tourism. So we go abroad not only for studying, but besides studying, we know that we have to have the international exposure. Means we have to interact with many people living with the different cultures. They have a different faith systems, religious group, religion. I mean, and they have different social setting. So therefore, when you interact with the people of different culture, different religion, and different societies, they actually aid or they enrich your experiences. They might aid to your personality to grow as maybe some tolerant individuals or citizens of the world. Because when you are always in one place, you will be thinking like that. But when you start knowing the world, when you start interacting with the world, that will always enrich your experiences. A plurality of voices in the world, that always makes you the individual who have respect for the diversity, who have respect for different culture. So yes, this international exposure and tourism, that's one of the fascination that people always plan their higher studies for. And definitely besides that, we have the opportunities. We know that when we are educated, when we are the graduates from universities abroad, definitely it will really pay back. Means we will be able to get better employment in Pakistan, because definitely when you apply to the universities, apply to the different organizations, and you are foreign qualified, definitely you will be the priority. So studying abroad definitely will help you to get better employment in Pakistan. And the last but not the least, which is very important, which is very fascinating for the youth and for many people, that is the opportunity of immigration. Okay, there are many countries in the world. Whenever you apply for higher studies, along with the opportunity to get masters and PhD, they also offer you the opportunity to be eligible for immigration. You can be able to acquire their nationality. For example, I have just mentioned few countries here. You can explore more. For example, Canadian, immigration. Even though you're not studying there, but you can apply for the Canadian immigration, being in Pakistan. But there is a process that you have to go through. But when you are studying there, and definitely you have the work experience, and you have a degree from Canada, you could have a better score. You would have a better chances of being selected for the Canadian nationality. Likewise, in New Zealand, for example, you have 3 to 4 years. For example, you are studying there, you are doing PhD, and after that, you can apply for the New Zealand and the Australian, immigration. The same goes for Finland. Why I mentioned Finland? Because I am studying there. I know that there is a policy for 4 years. When you are studying in Finland for 4 years, and you have learned Finnish language and you have acquired PhD there, then definitely you will be eligible for submitting your application for the permanent residence. So permanent residence can be acquired through your PhD there. And there are many other EU countries, maybe Germany, France, and other countries can also offer you. So these are some of the fascinations that motivate people to go for higher studies, and I believe that they are really important. We need to have the better education. We need to have better social networking. We need to have we need to have better tourism and exposure to the world, and we need better jobs. And finally, we need, to be settled in the best country in the world. But I'm not encouraging that means Pakistani youth should try and go and get settled there. But this is one of the possibilities that we can try. But even though there are some consequences of when the youth goes outside and get settled there, that's a kind of brain drain in Pakistan. But again, that's your decision how we are going to deal with that. Okay, so now let me give you some of the overviews about higher education in the world. Okay, where do the first world countries stand in the higher education, and where do we stand? So I have some facts and figures. You will always be looking at Times Higher Education and QS ranking. Every year it is published to tell us about the rankings of the universities. For example, this is the 2021 Times Higher Education report about which are the top 10 universities in the world. So you can see in the list here, for example, almost the universities are from the first world country like UK and USA. So you can see the University of Oxford and Stanford, Harvard, California Institute of Technology, MIT, and Cambridge is there, Yale University is there, Princeton, and University of Chicago. So top 10 universities in the world, these are from the first world country, and therefore the first world country, they are always the priority for most of the people in the living in the second world or third world countries. They always try to go for these countries and these universities. And if you look at the QS ranking, the first one that I gave, it was from Times Higher Education, and then second one is from QS ranking. Then MIT stands top university in the world, followed by Stanford, Harvard, California Institute of Technology, Oxford, Cambridge, Imperial College London. So again, in both ranking systems, we see that universities from US and UK, they are considered as the top universities, top 10 universities. Now, one of the important things, the question is why, on what basis these universities are ranked as top 10 or they are considered as the highest university in the world. There are certain indicators. For example, they try to look at some factors which can contribute to the university where they stand. For example, the teaching, the standards of teaching is the first factor that is always assessed. And then the research, how much research is actually being produced and the quality of research, and then knowledge transfer. Okay, if you have produced knowledge, for example, whether it is really implied in the real situation, it is being used in the socioeconomic development of the country or not. And then definitely the international outlook of the university. So these are some of the indicators that can guide us that why some universities stay in the top and why others are not excellent. So based on these factors, the times higher education and QS systems, they always try to assess. Likewise, you will see that there are some countries I have just mentioned here, which are considered top countries in higher education in QS and Times Higher Education report. So you can see the UK, USA, Australia, Netherlands, Sweden, France, Denmark, Canada, Germany, Switzerland, Japan, Israel, Finland, Taiwan, and Singapore. So I have just mentioned top 15, but the list can go on. And if we look at the Pakistani education standards, we stand at 83rd number when it comes to the standards of education in the world. We stand at 83rd. Now, apart from the global ranking, we can also see the Asia, for example. Where does the standard of education lie in Asia in QS ranking and time for education? Why am I telling you? The purpose is to familiarize you with the standards of education in different parts of the world and in different parts of the Asia. Why? Because whenever you apply for your master's and whenever you apply for PhD, the first thing to consider is the ranking of the university, the ranking of the country where you are applying for. So it's not that when you are going abroad for studies, you can go to any country. No, definitely your priority should be determined by the standards of education. And therefore, I feel that I should, tell you about the system, how the different countries are measuring their standards of education and where do they stand. So in Asia, we will see that there are some countries like Singapore, China, Japan, India, Hong Kong, Malaysia, and Indonesia. These are topmost countries in education in Asia. If you really plan, for example, you want to go for higher studies in Asian countries, then definitely you can go to China, Singapore, Hong Kong, and Japan. Even the best education system, and Indonesia and Malaysia is over there. And one of the ranking QS ranking report, which was published recently in 2021, says that, for example, from China, for example, we have 124 countries which were considered important, which are very higher in standard in QS ranking. From India, 107 universities, Japan 105 universities, South Korea, Taiwan, Pakistan, we have 40 universities which were ranked important here, in Malaysia and in Indonesia. So that means, yes, even in South Asian or in Asian parts of the world, you will see that there are many countries, there are many universities in the Asia which are really competing with the universities in the first world countries. So that means we can also consider our options, for submitting our applications to the Asian countries. Now in Pakistan, I just want to show you. In Pakistan, for example, we have some of the universities which are, counted among top 400 universities in the world. Let's see the first one, National University of Science and Technology, NUST. So maybe now in Pakistan, for example, if you plan for your higher studies, then again you have to see the ranking of the university in QS and the time for education. Pakistan Institute of Engineering and Sciences is a 373 ranking. Qaid-e-Azam University is 454, and then LUMS, Lahore University of Management Sciences, we have between 651 to 700, and ComState Islamabad is between 801 and 1000, and then University of Engineering and Technology, UET Lahore, is again between 800 and 1000 ranking. University of Punjab, it is again the same ranking. So yes, it means that Pakistan has also potential to be part of top 400 universities in the world. So maybe some people can consider applying for PhD or masters within Pakistan or in Asia, or maybe you can go beyond Asia and apply for some universities in Europe and in America and the UK. Okay, so this was just introduction, just to tell you when you are applying for studies what to consider. So you must always be looking at the ranking of the university, ranking of the country where you are applying. That's very important because it is something that will be counted at the end in future. Because whenever you apply for a job, for example, the the organization will always look into the degree from which country it is, done. It is, attained. They will always be, asking you questions. Why did you choose the country, and what was the standard of education there, and why you prefer that? So you have to make a sensible choice when it comes to decision about your higher studies, because this is going to be, for example, when I'm thinking about PhD, let's say, PhD is definitely the highest degree. And this doctoral degree should be done from one of the best universities in the world, one of the best countries in the world, so that whenever we are presenting ourselves somewhere, we should be counted. We should always be, counted on. Okay, now we need to, think, for example, whenever we are applying for higher studies, what should be done? What are the basic things that we need to consider? What are the most important, points that every candidate should work on, so that our application should be successful in getting admission for us, and also, we should have a chance to get a scholarship. I'm telling you, we are living in the world which has a high competition rate. Okay, so living in the world of competition, definitely you need more skills. You need to work more carefully. You need to work more sensibly. If you just become careless about your career and about your choices, and you are putting efforts into something, but the efforts are not properly guided, they are not properly directed, definitely it won't help you. Sometimes it happens that there are people who really work hard, work a lot in their life, but at the end they don't achieve anything. Now, why don't they achieve anything? Because they did hard work, but the problem was, maybe their hard work was not guided. It lacked some proper guidance. It lacked some, smart work. It really lacked some expert opinion from those who have been successful in their life. So we always need guidance, no matter at what stage we are. Even I myself believe that whatever stage I am, but I always need guidance from the seniors, from the experts of the field, and definitely those who have been through the process. They can always help us to do something in our life. So this is where I would like to bring forth very important points that can really be helpful if you consider them. If you really work on them, they can help you. Now, most people, they start applying, without preparation. I mean, they have many things which are missing, but they start, just pursuing their dreams. Now, pursuing dreams without preparation, definitely it won't work. So what should you do first? These are very basic requirements that you should look into. The first one is make sure you have a complete set of documents. Many people are applying, without making sure that their documents are not complete. They don't have transcripts, they don't have degree, they don't have pass certificate. So if you're applying for master, then you should have everything at hand, related to your bachelor program. Okay, you should have a transcript of the bachelor studies, you should have the degree, and then pass certificate, all the certificates. A complete set should be prepared. It should be, preserved in a file, so that whenever you apply, you should know that yes, things are ready. And you should have one scanned copy always. Okay, one is a hard copy and other should be a scanned copy. There should be a folder prepared in your laptop. It should be ready for you. Second thing, very important, sometimes when you're applying for higher studies, there are many universities in the world that they will always ask you for the attested copies. Okay, attested copies of your transcripts and your degrees, especially two certificates are important, the transcript and then your degree. That should be attested by Higher Education Commission. In the past, we used to send our documents to Islamabad, and we used to get them attested from there, either in person or or maybe by sending through post and other sources. But now we have a HEC regional center in Sindh, in Karachi as well. So make sure that once you have your certificates of bachelor's and master's, you should get those certificates, two things, transcripts and degrees attested by HEC. And for that, remember that you need to create your profile on the HEC portal. and where you can, always apply for the attestation. You can apply for many scholarship there on the HEC portal. So you should create your own, profile on the HEC website. That will always be helping you in many ways. So you can definitely do that. You have to learn how attestation is done, and then what is the best way suitable to you, and you can go accordingly. So two things. And third thing, which is important, you always need to make sure that you have a CV, you have an effective CV in your hand, or resume, definitely. So prepare your CV. And when I say prepare your CV, that doesn't mean that you have to just copy and paste. You just have to maybe ask somebody else to prepare CV for you. But I would say that learn the art of making an effective CV, work on it, develop your CV yourself instead of asking somebody else to help you with that, because these things really count a lot. These things really count most, I'm telling you, because whenever you are applying for higher studies, you're applying for admission, applying for scholarship, they always ask you to attach your CV. And if your CV is not properly maintained, it's not properly developed, definitely it would have negative impression on the examiners. So work on it, learn how it is made, and choose the best format, best layout. Since we do not have a universal format for CV, we have different formats. For example, if you're applying to European universities, you might have, and you will have definitely, the European standardized format of CV writing. Just download that European standardized format of CV and prepare your CV accordingly. Okay, just looking at the instructions and the layout of CV in the European format. Likewise, if you're applying to, let's say, US, you can see, maybe you can see the CV of professors from topmost universities in the world and download that and see the sample, and accordingly you can prepare your own. You don't have to copy paste, but you just have to look at the format. The format can be always taken as a sample. So once you have a CV, you need to get assessed, get checked by one of the experts, maybe from your teachers or from your peers, or anybody can help you with that. So once CV is ready, your documents are ready.
Excuse me, sir.
Uh,
Sir, sorry to distract you, but the screen is tilted. I don't know why it's happened here in my mobile, or it's a problem from your side. I'm not able to click the screenshot.
Sure.
Yeah.
But my screen visible here, you can see everything.
Sir, screen is still tilted. Okay.
How about other people? Ask other people if they can see it properly.
Yeah. Okay, please comment down. Screen is tilted or it's a problem here. That's okay. Okay. No, it's clear. Okay, fine, sir. Sorry to distract you. You please continue.
Okay, fine. Right. The next step is your SOP, the statement of purpose, or what we call a personal statement. That's also very important, because in many universities around the world, they would always ask you to submit your personal statement. And personal statement, you need to learn how it is written, how effective can we, write it, what kind of things need to be included, how, effective can it be made. Definitely it requires training for that. And I'm just highlighting the important things, because if I'm just talk about CV writing, I need 1 or 2 complete lectures for that. Even for SOP, I need complete 2 or 3 lectures for that. So I'm just telling you that yes, SOP is important, and you have to learn how SOP is written, develop it, and get assist by your teachers and by some people who are good, maybe who have been through the process and they have developed their own SOPs through which they have been successful in getting a scholarship. So yes, SOP is important, and in addition to that, one important thing is the IELTS. IELTS is very important. Before you apply, you need to check with different universities that what is the requirement of IELTS in different countries and in different universities, because the IELTS score That varies from university to university in the same country. It varies from one country to other country. For example, in Europe, you will see that IELTS score like 5.5 and 6.5 or 6 can be, sufficient. But depending on the field, even the field also matters. For example, if you are from social sciences and humanities, maybe they are asking for 7 bands in IELTS. If you are from engineering, then maybe this 5.5 or 6 is enough. But for me, let's say I am from English linguistics, so in many universities in the UK, they always ask for 7 band overall, and in each skill there must be like 6.5, and writing should be no less than 7. So that's very important that you have to look into each skill, because sometimes they don't only they ask you for the overall score in the IELTS, but they also ask you to acquire a score, a certain score in each skill. So each skill and then overall score that should be matched. If let's say you have got 7 and you have got 6.5 in all skills, but let's say your writing is less than 7 and they wanted 7 band in writing skills, that means even though your score is completely okay, but you will see that one, just one skill is lacking here, they won't accept it. They will say no, try again, give attempt, and then submit IELTS again, maybe next time in the future. So you have to prepare yourself for the IELTS. IELTS is taken by British Council in Pakistan. We see that IELTS is being taken, and in Hyderabad even in Hyderabad, IELTS is also taken there. So you can just go to the British Council's website and you can get registered there. But you have to be very careful because you need a lot of preparation. Because without preparation, if you are attempting IELTS, what will happen ultimately? If you're not getting the required band score, you will simply waste your money. And IELTS is really expensive exam. That, for example, currently it is 33 or 34,000. So it means that you should be well prepared. And how to prepare for IELTS is again a very different topic, and I can always help you with that whenever you need guidance. I can suggest you some sources to prepare yourself in the IELTS too. And in addition to IELTS, what's other thing required? For example, in some of the European countries, they don't ask you for the IELTS, they simply ask you for English proficiency certificate. And English proficiency certificate, that means you can simply get it from your university. You can apply to university, and from your department or from university, you can get it and you can submit it to the university where you are applying for master's and PhD. So that means you have to look at the requirements, what the different universities are asking for, and then you have to be prepared for that. The other thing which is important when you are applying for study, your passport should be ready. Most of the students, when they are applying, they do not have the passport, and when they are filling the admission form or applying for the scholarship form, they always ask you for your passport number. So when you don't have it, definitely it can affect your application. It can create a problem for you. You don't have to leave any problem there. You don't have to, create any problem in your own application. When you are fully ready, when you have everything, ready for you, that will, increase the chances of your success. Okay. Now, in addition to that, to the IELTS and proficiency certificate, there are some other, English tests as well, or other standardized examination which are taken for various scholarships. For example, the examination of TOEFL. If you, many universities, they ask you either for TOEFL or the IELTS. Okay, so but in but majorly you would see that TOEFL is important when you are applying for the US universities. So for example, if you have an experience of Fulbright scholarship, in Fulbright scholarship, they always ask you the TOEFL, and the first score is GRE. They ask you for the GRE score. So GRE is the foundation. It is the basis of your Fulbright scholarship. If you don't have GRE score, you cannot apply for the Fulbright. That's very important. So you have to qualify. You have to get the required score in GRE, and you have to check what is the requirement of the score in GRE in order to be eligible or successful in the Fulbright scholarship. And TOEFL again, you have to check with the score which is required there, because different universities and different scholarship would set different standard for their admission and their scholarship purpose. So IELTS is a journal, I would say, and TOEFL is more specific to Fulbright and US admission, and maybe in some other country like Turkey, you might need to attempt TOEFL. But as I said that some of the countries in the Europe, they only ask you for the English proficiency certificate. One of the example in the Europe is Italy. So in Italy, they don't ask you for the IELTS, and it doesn't need to be generalized, because some of the universities in Italy may require IELTS. But what I have seen that some of the universities don't know. They ask you for the IELTS. They can accept you as a candidate in masters and PhD based on your English proficiency certificate. Apart from that, another important thing is you should have an effective research plan, especially when you are a master's student, when you are applying for PhD. They always look into your research plan, the research proposal, because based on that they decide that whether you should be given the admission, you should be placed in their program or not. So you should develop a better research plan. And for that, you need to know your field in a better way. You need to know that what is going on, what developments are actually being taking place in your own field, and then what can you contribute, what can you do in your own field. And I think we all have different fields, so we have different ideas, and we have different expertise. So that can help us that yes, what kind of ideas can be researched and how can we contribute. So you have to develop an effective research plan with the help of some expert researchers. Even your teachers can help you, or maybe your colleagues can help you to develop that. And besides that, one important thing that you should know, the art of writing an effective email. It happens that in many ways you need to develop a contact with the university professors before you apply for admission, before you apply for a scholarship. The first thing in many cases is to develop contact with the professors, because if your professor in a certain university agrees to supervise you, then you will be in a strong position to be selected or to be considered, okay, for a certain program and for certain funding. So for that, you really need to have the art of writing a very convincing email, the effective email, the email which is free from grammar errors, email which has a formal tone, okay, formal voice should be there. It should be well structured. It should have a proper layout and structure. And in email, you have to just convince your professor that why you are a suitable candidate, and why and what is the task, what is the idea that you want to research on, and you have to attach your CV and your research proposal with your email. That should be read by professor, and having gone through the CV and the research plan, the supervisor, the professor can actually make a decision whether to supervise you or not. And to be very honest, each professor in different universities is receiving so many emails, hundreds of emails, and this would be how you are making them maybe catching their attention towards your email, because sometimes they are not reading. But when your email is written in an effective way, and your research plan and your CV is effective, then that can really help you get the consent of a supervisor, and that can really increase the chances of your success in getting admission in a certain university and a scholarship, but for sure. Okay, now there are some other steps that you need to take care of, and definitely whatever I am telling you, I will be sharing the slides with you, and you need to work on them slowly and gradually. And it is not just a day or 2 days process that you would go and get the scholarship and admission. If I share my experience, I'm telling you that it took me around 2 years to get admission in. I got admission in many universities, but I did not have funding. I did not have scholarship. But getting admission in a university where I got tuition waiver, for example, in Finland, PhD is free. So getting admission in PhD in Finland was very challenging, and I really had to go through this 2 years process, and having gone through various applications that I submitted to different countries in the Europe, in Canada, and UK, USA, New Zealand, and Hong Kong, many countries. I just considered applying there. I got admission letters from various universities, but without funding. So definitely funding is very important. We need to have. Okay. So in some cases, it's very important that whenever you are submitting your application for admission in scholarship, there are different procedures. The first step is what you need to have consent from your supervisor. Okay. Once you have the consent from supervisor who is ready to supervise you, then you need to just submit your application for admission purpose and then scholarship as well. Two things are there, but there are different ways. One thing should be noted here. There are different ways of applying for admission in scholarship. Different procedures are there. How, for example, if you are applying for US Fulbright scholarship, what happens? The proper way is you don't have to get the consent of supervisor. You don't have to write email to the professor there. Okay, you just have to attempt GRE, get the required score of GRE, and then simply prepare your CV, research plan, and fill the Fulbright, scholarship form. Once you are shortlisted, once you are selected there, then Fulbright committee that would be responsible for everything. They would, place you in the university, and which professor is going to provide you. Everything is their headache. You just need to get GRE and research plan and your CV. That's it, and fill the form. And definitely you need to know the art of writing essays in the Fulbright scholarship. There are some essays which need to be written there, and you should know how to write those essays properly. But if you're applying for HEC funded scholarship, then there's a different way. For example, in HEC funded scholarship, they always ask you to appear in the HET. There's a test taken by Higher Education Commission. That's a Higher Education Aptitude Test, HAT. When you qualify HET, then you are shortlisted by interview, and when you are successful in the interview, they can just recommend your name to the major funding agencies. For example, let's say Commonwealth scholarship is there. Commonwealth has asked HEC to shortlist people from Pakistan and send their names. So HEC shortlist through HET test, and then definitely through interview and all this process. And when you're applying for HEC funded or the Commonwealth scholarship, HEC always requires you to get admission letter from some of the universities in the UK. Okay, you at least need to get 3 admission letters from UK, and upload their letters to the HEC portal when you are filling the form for Commonwealth. So HEC is a different procedure that you have to learn how it is done. And third possible way for applying scholarship is applying to independent universities. Okay, you are not applying through Fulbright or any other agency. You're not applying through HEC, but you want to get the scholarship and admission independently. For example, the way I did, I applied to the Fulbright. I applied to the Commonwealth through HEC, but I was not successful. Then I plan to apply to independent universities and funding agencies. For example, Finland, I just submitted my I convinced my professor there, and with the consent of professor, I applied for admission, and then I was selected. I just had a tuition waiver, 100%, but I have to afford my living there, on my own. So that is also possible. And for that, I told you there are some steps. If you are applying to the universities independently, then first thing you have to do is search relevant professors in the field. For example, when you are developing a research plan, it should be specific. Definitely, it would relate to one or other specific topic. And for that, you really need to search the relevant professor who is expertise in your topic, and just email them. Okay, email to one professor in one university and wait, and you can maybe at the same time you can apply to different universities and by contacting with different professors there. But never make a mistake, by just sending one email and keeping many emails of professors in the one email by CCing all the emails in one. There are many inexperienced, students that do so. You don't have to do it. You always have to develop a separate, email for each professor. And even in the same university, you cannot apply, you cannot send email to 2 or 3 professors at a time. You need to apply, you need to send email to one professor and wait for the response. For example, 2 days and 3 days. If you don't get response, then send them a reminder. And if they are not replying, then after 1 week in the same university, you can contact another professor that you think he or she has expertise in your own topic. So you have to be sensible there. But at the same time, maybe you can consider submitting, your research plan and your CV to different professors from different universities. That is possible. You can do that because you don't have to apply to one university and wait. Because, for example, admission process begins in September in UK, let's say. Okay, in September and October, the admission process begins. Now, I just don't have to apply to one university in the UK and I have to wait that, okay, after 6 months, the result will be announced and then I will take decision what happened. No, you have to apply to at least some 10 to 15 universities in the UK in the phase of, for example, September, October, and November until December, and wait for the results. Okay, in the February, March, and April, and see what result is there. Maybe you can hear good news from one university, and even in the same phase, for example, you can apply to some other country as well in the UK, in the Europe, and in the US, and maybe in Canada. So each year, for example, you are submitting, let's say, some 20 and 30 applications each year, and you're applying for 1 year, 2 year, and 3rd year. I'm sure that in this phase you will see that yes, you will get a certain chance. So getting admission and scholarship is not as easy as people think, because I told you we are living in the world of competition. So we need to submit more applications effectively, and we need to compete with many people, because in the same university you would see that people around the world, they are submitting their application. It's not only you from Pakistan, but in the same university, there are thousands of applications being received by the university, and they review your application for admission purpose and for scholarship purpose. And definitely for that, you have to see that how would you stand out. If you really want to stand out, if you really want to be extraordinary, then you have to apply in an extraordinary manner. Okay, so this was a point that I was talking about. The supervisor should be ready to supervise you. And in some universities, your application is directly considered for a scholarship. Yes, you just have to apply to university for admission purpose. If you get admission, you will be considered for the scholarship too. But in some other universities, what happens? You have to apply for admission and scholarship separately. Your application form for admission would be separate, and your application form for scholarship would be separate. And you have to keep an eye on the dates when the admission is there and when it is scholarship announced, and you have to apply well before the deadline. So sometimes scholarships dates can be prior or posterior to admission dates. So in many universities, you will see scholarships are first. You have to apply for the scholarship and then for admission. While in other universities, you will see that first you have to apply for admission and then you have to apply for the scholarship. So we don't have one the central process or procedure to submit our application. So different procedures exist in the world, and you have to keep yourself aware of these things. Now, these are some of the scholarships I have mentioned that you can always consider. These are really highly prestigious scholarships in the world today. Most people are considering, and I have just mentioned few. They're not limited to them. You can search more. For example, Fulbright scholarship for master's program for PhD, and then for Erasmus Mundus scholarship for master's only. And you have to see the requirement, you have to see the dates, when are they announced. Chevening scholarship for master's in the UK, Hong Kong PhD fellowship scheme. And see, these scholarships are really prestigious, not only in terms of funding, but even in terms of your education. Because through these scholarship, you will be able to get admission in top universities in the world. Top universities, I'm telling you. Therefore, if you are successful in these scholarship, you can be placed in the best universities in the world. And in terms of economy, I'm telling you, you will be richer. For example, in Fulbright and in Hong Kong PhD fellowship, the monthly, stipend, you can't, imagine that it's about Pakistani, 5 to 6 lakhs. You are getting, receiving the funding from that. Apart from your, your fee and everything, other expenses, you're just getting a stipend. The maintenance allowance, the living allowance is 5 lakhs. So I think you can do a lot. So you can definitely invest in yourself. Okay, then we have Vanier Graduate Scholarship Canada. It's one of the best scholarships in the world. Commonwealth Scholarship that is done through HEC for Masters and PhD. And for HEC own scholarship, you can always keep visiting HEC website where you can find out many scholarships announced by HEC, and which are, I have mentioned some of them. For example, US Pakistan Knowledge Corridor PhD scholarship. Each year, it's written there, 10,000 scholars are being sent to US from Pakistan, and they require definitely GRE. So GRE is a hurdle. Yeah, but if you think that you are good at the quantitative part, you have better skills in mathematics and analytical skills, and you are good at language too, definitely you can prepare. And I'm telling you honestly, if you just spend 5 to 6 months, on GRE, you can qualify. There are many people who are ordinary students, but when they spend their time in preparing themselves in the GRE, they did it, and today they are the part of these prestigious scholarships. And HEC also selects people in Hungary scholarship. Hungary, that has allowed HEC to shortlist people from Pakistan and send the scholars there. Then Commonwealth, I told you, HEC has signed MOUs with many universities in the countries. I have shared the link. You can go for which countries are there, and you can always apply to those countries. So these are the various scholarships I have mentioned. You have to check with the dates of each scholarship and process of each scholarship, the requirements of each scholarship. Okay, and then prepare your complete package before you apply. Okay, so scholarship requires kind of preparation, and definitely you need to have your personal diary and note down everything, meet the deadlines. And if you are committed, I'm sure that you can achieve the best scholarship. You can be part of one of the best universities in the world. Last words. Once you are selected, then your visa process begins. So visa is done at a later stage when you are selected in the admission. You have been granted the funding or the scholarship, and then your visa process begins. And again, in visa process, we have different procedures. For example, if you are done through, if you are being selected through Fulbright, then visa process is not your headache. Fulbright will do everything for you. Okay, if you are done through HEC, again HEC will help you a lot. But if there are universities where you applied and as an independent researcher, as an independent person, definitely the visa process is somehow challenging, and you have to do everything on your own. And for that, for example, if you have got just tuition waiver, let's say in my case, for example, I got tuition waiver 100%. I have no academic expenses in Finland. I just have to afford my living. And even though there are chances of getting funding during PhD, but for now, I have no funding for living expenses. Now, in my case, visa process was difficult. Why difficult? Because one of the major issues that I faced, that we do not have, embassy of Finland in Pakistan. The hurdle that I faced, and for that I had to go to, UAE. It is, in Abu Dhabi. So I had to visit Abu Dhabi. I lived there for 20 days, and then I appeared in interview, and then I got, my visa. Okay, for that. And for that, one important, hurdle was the funds. When you are applying independently, you have no fully funded scholarship. They will always ask you to show enough funds in your accounts. And you need to submit them, uh, bank statement. Or if you cannot submit them bank statement, they can always ask you to show them the sponsor, who is sponsoring your studies, who is sponsoring your living expenses in a certain country. So for that, maybe if you have a land, if you have your parents, if your parents have enough funds in their bank account, they can send their money to your bank account, and you can just get your bank statement and tell them. In my case, I showed my bank statement. They required me to show 12,000 euros, that means about 24 lakhs Pakistani, and I showed them, and based on that, I was granted my visa. Okay, so this is how, things work. You have to learn things differently, and take very sensible steps, and be careful when you are applying. So the last three things are very important. Stay committed, never give up. Remember that, there would be many places where you would be getting rejections only. Maybe in the first phase, for example, in the first year you are applying, you would be getting rejections only. And if you ask me, for example, I submitted to 50, more than 50, universities. For more than 50 applications were submitted from my side, and in many places I was rejected. I contacted more than 80 professors. Some of them replied to me. Some of them simply said sorry, they cannot supervise me. Some of them really encouraged me. Some of them gave me a very good, review. So things, vary. So yes, you might be exhausted mentally. You might be exhausted at a certain place, but if you are exhausted and you give up, I'm telling you, you will lag behind. So you don't have to give up. Certain situation would be there, but you have to overcome that disappointment. You have to overcome, the stage, the particular period in your life that is so much disappointing. Once you overcome the disappointment period, I'm telling you, you will see success, because your success lies in these steps of failure. Each failure you are having in your life, that would have something to give you, that would offer you something to learn. So don't take failure as a curse, but take failure as a kind of success in your life. So never give up, keep applying, and stay committed. Thank you so much.
ये अगर होस्ट के पास ये फैसिलिटी है कि बाकी को म्यूट कर दे तो प्लीज कर दे, ताकि हम इसको लास्ट।
Yeah, sir, I have muted to everyone.
थैंक यू।
Yeah, thank you.
तारा अनम्यूट करें और फिर बोलें।
Yeah, Sarvakar, please continue. Yes, please now. Sarvakar, can you hear me? Hello, Sarvakar.
Ji, Tara, I can hear you. Ji.
Yeah, please continue, sir.
Yes,
sorry for disturbance.
I am done. I'm done with my part. And now I would welcome the questions from IDs.
Yeah, sure, sir. If anybody have question, please ask from Sarvakar.
I mean, you can write down in the chat box, or you can speak up. It's your choice.
I don't know what's going on here. I think that's
तारा, अगर कोई है सवाल करने वाला तो ठीक है, अदरवाइज आप आगे बढ़ाएं क्योंकि सर को और बहुत ज्यादा काम हो, तो सर अपने तमाम काम को कंटिन्यू करें। अगर कोई है